Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, December 20th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 Bank Shop best bet, as well as my all-access season pass in college hoops, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com, and there is a link in the description below. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. First up, we see UC San Diego taking on Cal. This one's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern. Now, we took Cal in their last game against Ole Miss, and it was a game where Ole Miss just got off to a really big lead early on. Cal was really never able to come back, but they did win the second half in that game and won the final 10 minutes of that one by 10 points, 31-21. So we started to see the Cal offense really get going, and I think in this spot, it's a good spot here for Cal to get right. UC San Diego, they played a pretty tough schedule with some good amount of true road games, at least recently. But I don't love them in this matchup. They're a really bad defensive rebounding team. They're giving up a defensive rebound on 35% of their opponents' missed shots. Cal, that's their bread and butter. This hasn't been a great shooting team, but they're 31st in the country in offensive rebounding percentage. We saw that in that game against Ole Miss where Cal had 16 offensive rebounds. So while I do think Cal's shooting numbers are going to improve because they're actually getting pretty good looks on the floor, it's helpful that they're also going to get some second chance looks in this game, even if those shots don't fall at a great rate. The defense, I think, for Cal is also underrated. It's ranked 262 in adjusted defensive efficiency, but they're forcing tough shots. They're responsible on the defensive glass. I think we see a strong performance here from Cal, and we're laying a pretty reasonable number because Cal's record, 3-7 on paper, doesn't look great. And we know this program has struggled the last couple of years, been one of the weakest Pac-12 teams. But I like this spot for Cal. Give me Cal. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Xavier and St. John's. This one's 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. We've talked about Xavier a lot on the Bank Shop Breakdown this year. We've faded him a few times. We've taken him a few times. Most recently, we took him against Cincinnati in that rivalry game, and Xavier won for us in that one, 84-79. However, I don't love the Musketeers' chances in this game. Not only is it a true road game, only their second of the season in a really tough building, but also just the way that St. John's plays. I just think it's a bad matchup for Xavier. Xavier, a lot of transfers this year, and a lot of transfers from mid-major schools like Western Kentucky, North Texas, Rice. Not a lot of guys that have a ton of experience in true road games in Power 5, or in this case in the Big East Power 6 basketball courts. This is going to be a really tough environment, and one of the toughest environments that most of these players have played in their collegiate careers. But beyond that, St. John's, really aggressive team, especially offensively, a fast-paced team, really good offensive rebounding team. Xavier, not the best rebounding team themselves, so I could see that being an issue for the Musketeers. And we've talked about Xavier taking a lot of tough shots offensively, a lot of running mid-range jumpers, fadeaway jumpers, a lot of two-point field goals. And while they've made them at a pretty good rate this year, St. John's is the 32nd best two-point defense in college basketball. So I don't love that. I like St. John's forcing a lot of turnovers. Defensively, I do think this team is better than what we've seen thus far. They're ranked 94th in adjusted defensive efficiency. I think that improves as the season goes along. This is a good spot for St. John's to pick up a nice conference victory at home. And I think we're laying a pretty reasonable number. So give me St. John's. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Toledo and Vermont. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. It's funny, we actually talked about this game on the Bank Shop Breakdown last year, 1 year ago today. It was on December 20th. Last year was a Tuesday, this year Wednesday, and we took Toledo in that game on the road, and they won for us. They won by double digits in that game, and I was wearing the Santa hat in that video. I got the Santa hat on this year, and I like Toledo in this game as well, even though Vermont's playing with revenge from that loss last season. I think Vermont's team this year is weaker than last year's team, especially defensively, where they're right now 196 in adjusted defensive efficiency. They don't force any turnovers virtually, one of the weakest teams in turnover percentage defensively. And while they're a pretty good defensive rebounding team and they don't take a ton of fouls, I just think that when you look at the shot quality, they're giving their opponents pretty good looks. Toledo, when you look at their defensive numbers on paper, they don't look great. They're 251st in adjusted defensive efficiency, but I think that's going to improve by a lot as the season goes along. They're forcing turnovers. They're a pretty good rebounding team. They don't take many fouls. Their opponents are just making shots at a really good rate. They're 344th, Toledo is, in effective field goal percentage defense, which, it looks bad on paper. But again, I think that they're forcing pretty tough shots. And going forward, teams are going to start missing some shots at greater rates. And we also see Toledo ranked 354th in free throw percentage defense. And, it's kind of ironic because You obviously can't defend a free throw, but that just goes to show you how unlucky Toledo has been. Even teams at the charity stripe are doing a good number against Toledo. So I think going forward, there's a lot of positive regression for this defense. The offense, we already know Toledo very strong there. They score a ton of points. They played at fast pace. They're on a 3-game win streak, and they played well at home this season. So I like them in this spot. Reasonable price. They played really well against Vermont last year. I think this could be an even bigger result, even bigger win in 2023. So give me Toledo. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see UMBC taking on Iowa. This one's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern on the Big Ten Network. Now, I firmly believe that UMBC is a bottom 10 team in Division I college hoops this year. And while they're 5-8 and they have some Division I wins, they also have double-digit losses to teams like Morgan State and Coppin State. So I don't think that that's a crazy argument. And UMBC's defense, we know, has struggled quite a bit this year, 351st in adjusted defensive efficiency. But the offense has been okay. They're a pretty good shooting team. They're 85th in 2-point field goal percentage. But I think going forward, there's regression concerns for this offense, and even the defense, I think, has even more room for regression. I really don't love this UMBC team. I don't love this spot form against Iowa. We saw Iowa bounce back. They were on a 3-game losing streak, and they had a nice blowout win against Florida A&M in their last game, 88-52, so a 36-point victory. That was against a Florida A&M team that I think is way more battle-tested than UMBC is, and a much better defensive team than UMBC is. So I think Iowa scores in the hundreds in this ball game, and because of the pace that UMBC plays at, it makes sense. I mean, they're the fastest team in college basketball offensively and the second adjusted tempo team. So there should be a ton of possessions for Iowa in this game. There's no excuse for them not to get to triple digits offensively. And then the defense, you would question, can UMBC keep up in this game? Like I said, I think there's some really big concerns for regression going forward with this offense. They turn the ball over. They're not a very good rebounding team. They don't get to the free throw line. They take a ton of tough shots and early in the shot clock as well. If, Iowa, we know they're not known for being a great defensive program, but we saw their defense have a really strong day against Florida A&M. I think we look for them to do the same against UMBC here. I don't think UMBC keeps up for 40 minutes offensively. To me, this is an absolute blowout. Give me Iowa laying the big number. I could see them winning this game by 40-plus points. Next up, we see the final game for Wednesday's card in college basketball. It's going to be Alabama and Arizona in the Hall of Fame series in Phoenix. This one, 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Should be a great game. Now, to me, I just think we're getting a lot of line value in this one because of Alabama's 6-4 straight-up record doesn't look great. They lost 3 of their last 4 games, while Arizona, they've been one of the best cover teams in college basketball. In fact, I believe they suffered their first both straight-up and ATS loss in their last game against Purdue, where it was a 92-84 final score. I think Arizona is still a great team, but I think Alabama is still in the conversation of being a contender this year. Yes, they're not ranked in the AP polls anymore, and they lost 3 of the last 4, like I said, but they lost all 4 of their games this season to top 25 teams in the KenPom ratings: Ohio State, Clemson, Purdue, and Creighton. They were competitive in most of those games. Only 1 double-digit loss in those 4 losses, and they only lost by 3 to Creighton in a true road game last time out. I think Alabama competes here. I think we're getting too many points. Alabama, the number 1 team in adjusted offensive efficiency in college basketball. They play at a really fast pace, so they're not going to be, uncomfortable with Arizona's pace of play, another team that likes to speed the game up. Alabama, great shooting team, 18th in the country in 3-point shooting. They get to the free throw line. They make their free throws. They're a great offensive rebounding team that takes care of the basketball. The defense right now is not where it needs to be, but I think going forward, we're going to see some positive regression. They're forcing tougher shots than what the 104th adjusted defensive efficiency rating may suggest. They're a decent defensive rebounding team, which is important against Arizona. It was also a great offensive rebounding team. So I think Alabama matches up okay in this matchup, and I think we're getting way too many points. Wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama win it outright. This would be a really nice win to get on the resume after, not a great non-conference start, but they're battle-tested. They played the tougher schedule. Give me Alabama plus the points in this semi-road game. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.